Charles and Lydia were already of advanced age when one night, a small baby girl was mysteriously left at the entrance of their home. The dilemma presented itself to the couple, however, they chose the brave decision to welcome and care for that adorable child in their home. Years later, a health issue with Charles would reveal a secret that had been kept for many years. The words of the doctors would provide Lydia with information capable of reviving events from the past, bringing to light memories and secrets that had remained hidden for a long period. Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is the Linda's Stories channel. I hope you enjoy this story. On that serene morning, Lydia and Charles were suddenly awakened by the insistent sound of knocking at the door. Charles leapt from the bed, startled, hurriedly searching for a coat to wear over his pajamas. The knocking persisted, becoming progressively more disturbing. Finally, Charles managed to reach the door, but his heart nearly stopped as he opened it. Before him stood a law enforcement officer wearing his uniform solemnly. It was evident that the presence of a police officer at such an hour did not bode well. "Mr. Charles," the officer asked with compassion in his voice. "I would like you to accompany me to the hospital. Unfortunately, your sister's family has been involved in a serious traffic accident. You were listed as the emergency contact." The impact of the news shook both Charles and Lydia, who were now anxious for more information about the health of their relatives. As they prepared for the journey awaiting them at the hospital, the officer did not provide further details, leaving the couple to head to the hospital in a state of worrying uncertainty. As they drove swiftly through the streets, their minds were filled with apprehension about what they would find upon reaching the hospital. Upon their arrival, the news they received was overwhelming and devastating. Charles's sister and her husband had not survived the injuries from the terrible accident. The impact and pain were crushing, enveloping them in a feeling of emptiness and profound sadness. Amidst the turmoil and sorrow permeating the hospital, a small spark of hope seemed to shine. Vivian, the lovely 4-year-old daughter of the couple, had survived the accident with no major injuries. She was now a ray of hope and comfort amidst the terrible tragedy that had shaken their lives. Charles, as Vivian's uncle, felt the weight of the decision about the little girl's future fall upon his shoulders. He and his wife, Lydia, who had never been parents, faced a distressing dilemma. In addition to their inexperience in caring for a child, they were facing serious financial problems. How could they take on such a huge responsibility as raising Vivian? Nights of endless discussions followed, yet time was relentless, and the need to make an imminent decision was evident. The couple stood at a crossroads that would completely redefine their lives. Finally, they headed to the medical center, where Vivian was about to be discharged. Upon seeing the small, gentle girl, now orphaned and alone in this world, their hearts softened. It was impossible not to notice the instant affinity they felt for her. Driven by an intense desire to ensure that Vivian received love, protection, and care, Charles and Lydia bravely chose to take responsibility for their niece. They were ready to face the challenges that would arise on this journey, determined to provide Vivian with a loving home and the family she so badly needed. The beginning was quite complicated. Charles and Lydia needed to make significant adjustments in their lives and finances to accommodate young Vivian. Besides the financial hardships, there was a huge emotional investment associated with the task of raising a child. Vivian, in turn, carried with her deep emotional traumas resulting from the tragic loss of her parents and the memories of the terrible accident she had witnessed. It required time, patience, and a lot of dedication, but gradually they began to adjust to each other. Love and devotion flourished as they faced obstacles together. With the support and affection of her uncle and aunt, Vivian found in her new home a warm and welcoming environment where she gradually began to overcome the traumas of the past. As the years passed, Vivian grew, and the love Charles and Lydia had for her seemed unshakable. It was as if she had always been an essential part of their lives. Although the circumstance that brought Vivian to them was unexpected and extremely tragic, the couple was convinced that they had made the best choice in welcoming the girl into their hearts and home. It was a story full of all the elements for a happy ending, with love and overcoming. However, life rarely follows the script we plan. The challenges and twists of life are often unpredictable, and Charles, Lydia, and Vivian were about to face new obstacles that would test their strength, unity, and resilience. As Vivian matured and entered adolescence, she began to take paths that were not to the liking of Charles and Lydia. A sudden rebelliousness took hold of her. Every night, she arrived home late. Her school grades were in decline. Her uncle and aunt warned her and tried to advise her, but it seemed that their words had no effect. Vivian displayed that typical youthful arrogance, as if she were immune to the advice of the elders. Everything was on the brink of a dramatic turn when Charles, in a last-ditch effort to make his niece understand the importance of responsibility, asserted determinedly, "Vivian, it is not appropriate to go out every night and only return at dawn. You are at a crucial moment in your education and need to dedicate yourself." It was then that he heard something that hit him profoundly, more than any physical wound could. Vivian, with a defiant look, declared, "You are not my parents. I am not obliged to follow your orders." Vivian stormed out, stomping her foot and slamming the door behind her. The sound of the door closing echoed in the hearts of Charles and Lydia, leaving them with a mix of sadness and worry as they watched their beloved niece sink into her own emotional turmoil. One morning, Charles and Lydia woke up and realized the house was quieter than usual. Their hearts started to beat faster with worry. They went to Vivian's room, but she was not there. However, on the bed, there was a note that tightened their hearts. "Uncle Charles and Aunt Lydia, it's time for me to follow my own path now. You can continue your lives without worrying about me." Charles was devastated. He loved Vivian like a daughter and could not imagine life without her. Lydia was inconsolable. Vivian was the girl she had learned to love and care for as if she were her own daughter. They went to the police but felt powerless in the face of the situation. Vivian was of age and had left a letter stating her decision to leave. It was her will, and there wasn't much they could do to stop her. Vivian's departure left a void in Charles and Lydia's lives as they now faced a future filled with longing. The loss of Vivian was an intense pain and hard to bear. She simply left without a trace, without giving any news, leaving Charles and Lydia with an overwhelming emotional emptiness. They needed to completely readjust their lives and learn to live again despite the absence of the one they loved and raised as their own daughter. Years had passed since Vivian's departure, and life continued in a sad and silent way for the couple. One night, as Charles and Lydia were preparing to go to bed, a peculiar sound caught the woman's attention. At first, it seemed like crying, but they pondered that it might be cats in the neighborhood. However, the truth behind that sound was far more surprising than they could have ever imagined. Despite trying to ignore the sound at first, the intensification of the crying compelled them to investigate the mystery. Determined to discover the source, Charles went to the door of the house. When he opened it, he was astonished by what he saw before his eyes. Upon reaching the door of his residence, he found a newborn inside a basket. The little child appeared to be about 2 months old. Charles was astonished, remaining there motionless, contemplating the small being for a moment, trying to comprehend what was happening. Subsequently, Lydia appeared, and her maternal instinct motivated her to embrace the baby in her arms. Holding the baby close to her chest, she managed to soothe the child's crying. It was a little girl. Charles, observing how Lydia held the baby, expressed his unease. "We should take her to the authorities. We are no longer young and are not prepared to take responsibility for another child." However, Lydia looked at the little girl in her arms and responded kindly. "Of course, we will inform the authorities, Charles. But if this child's mother cannot be found, perhaps we can offer to take care of her. We must remember, Lydia, we are already of advanced age, and the consequences could be severe," Charles warned, painfully evoking the memories of Vivian's abandonment. But even remembering Vivian's departure, Lydia was not persuaded to abandon the idea of taking care of the baby. Lydia prevailed in the dispute of opinions, persuading Charles that they were fit for this task. Thus, Charles and Lydia gave the girl the name Marin. Despite their old age, they found the resolution and willingness necessary to raise another child and offered Maren a loving home, where she grew up surrounded by affection and care. Maren turned 10 when an unexpected event was about to reveal secrets from the past that no one could anticipate. One day, after dropping the girl off at school, Charles began to feel unwell. His vision started to blur, followed by weakness in his legs and mental confusion. People on the street noticed his condition and quickly took him to the hospital. Upon arrival, the medical situation became increasingly severe, and Charles fell into a coma. When Lydia was informed about what had happened, she rushed to the hospital, distressed and worried. Upon arriving, the doctors shared Charles's critical condition and revealed something surprising. Mrs. Lydia, before slipping into a coma, Mr. Charles managed to articulate a few words that he wished to be conveyed to you. He mentioned that Maren is the daughter of his niece, Vivian. We are not sure if this information is accurate or if he was delirious, but he also spoke about you looking for an envelope in a toolbox. Lydia was utterly astonished. Maren, the child left on their doorstep, now appeared to be the daughter of Vivian, the niece they had raised as their own daughter, who had disappeared without a trace. Determined to uncover the truth, Lydia rushed back home and rummaged through the toolbox in search of the envelope mentioned by Charles. With her heart pounding, she finally located the envelope and opened it eagerly. Inside, she found an old note written by Vivian herself. "Uncle Charles and Aunt Lydia, this is my daughter. You were right, the paths I took led me to a dark destiny, and I am unable to raise my own daughter. I know you are the most suitable people to take care of her, just as you took care of me. Love her as you loved me. With affection, Vivian." Lydia was perplexed and overtaken by conflicting emotions. Why had Charles concealed from her the true maternal origin of Maren? The days in which Charles was in a coma were agonizing, and the thought of losing her life partner was overwhelming. Finally, after a few days, Charles emerged from the coma, bringing indescribable relief to Lydia. However, it also sharpened her curiosity and the need to unravel the secret her husband had kept for so many years. Charles took a deep breath before speaking. "Lydia, on the day Maren was left at our door, inside the basket was this note. I knew that if you knew that baby was Vivian's daughter, you would not hesitate to want to keep her. But I was not ready. I was not willing to relive all the suffering we faced raising Vivian and then losing her. Despite this, even without knowing the truth, you fell in love with Maren from the start. I pondered many times over revealing the truth, but time passed, and I couldn't find the courage to do so, **** Charles revealed sorrowfully. I tried to locate Vivian so that we could raise Maren together, but I failed. I ended up leaving things as they were. However, the prospect of death made me realize that both you and Maren deserve the truth." With compassion in her eyes, Lydia understood the pain and dilemma that Charles had faced over the years. She held his hand and said, "Charles, now I understand. What matters is that we are together again, and we can take care of Maren knowing the whole story. We will find a way to share this truth with her and build a better future for all of us." The family of Charles and Lydia found their way to a happy ending despite the challenges and secrets of the past. With love, understanding, and honesty, they embraced the opportunity to raise Maren, the daughter of Vivian, as a united and loving family. Even in the most complex and painful situations, truth and love can prevail. Charles learned that the fear of reliving the wounds of the past should not stop the pursuit of truth and the opportunity to build a better future. Sometimes, the courage to confront our deepest secrets is what allows us to find true happiness and unity in our lives. If you enjoyed, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with a number from 1 to 5 to let us know how much you liked the story. Also, watch the video that is currently on your screen. See you soon.